Details about Todd and Julie Chrisley's prison sentences. Todd and Julie Chrisley, known for their cheery, faith-driven personality and passionate fan base, rose to prominence on USA Network's reality shows beginning in 2014. Their programming drew an average of 1.5 million viewers in 2021 and was renewed for a 9th season. You've probably seen this couple on shows like According to Chrisley, Chrisley Knows Best, or Growing Up Chrisley, but did you know Todd started out in real estate? Todd and Julie Chrisley have seized the headlines in a very different way since their arrest in 2019. There's a lot of information to sort through with all of the fresh details regarding their jail, family conflict, and personal money on full display for the world to see. We were able to create a full timeline of their case from beginning to end, so you can stay up to date on the newest Chrisley news. Though their legal problems began in 2017 as a result of an examination into their finances, the Chrisleys and their former accountant, Peter Tarantino, were formally charged 2 years later. According to the 12-count indictment, the pair was accused of a series of financial crimes with the assistance of Tarantino and an unnamed business associate. The earliest listed infraction was from 2007, long before the Chrisleys became famous on USA Network. The allegations contained in the indictment are founded on utter falsehoods, according to defense attorneys. We're pretty confident in the evidence, said the attorney who announced the indictment to WSB-TV. Following the indictment, the Chrisleys swiftly surrendered to authorities and pled not guilty. They were each sentenced to $100,000 in bonds and instructed not to travel without the consent of a parole officer. According to the 12-count indictment, the pair was accused of a series of financial crimes with the assistance of Tarantino and an unnamed business associate. The earliest listed infraction was from 2007, long before the Chrisleys became famous on USA Network. The allegations contained in the indictment are founded on utter falsehoods, according to defense attorneys. We're pretty confident in the evidence, said the attorney who announced the indictment to WSB-TV. Following the indictment, the Chrisleys swiftly surrendered to authorities and pled not guilty. They were each sentenced to $100,000 in bonds and instructed not to travel without the consent of a parole officer. We'll fight, and we'll win, defense attorney Bruce H. Morris told WSB-TV. They are completely innocent of all charges. Despite the ongoing inquiry, they were able to film their show. Todd Chrisley, for his part, instantly rushed to social media to refute the charges and offer his side of the tale. In an Instagram post, the Chrisley Knows Best host blamed everything on a disgruntled former employee seeking vengeance. He took a bunch of his forged paperwork to the U.S. Attorney's office and informed them we'd done all kinds of financial crimes. According to the post, I'm telling you all of this now because we have nothing to hide and nothing to be ashamed of. At the conclusion of the arraignment hearing, he reiterated his innocence. We stand in our beliefs and in what we know to be true, he told reporters outside the courthouse. We are blessed to have the guidance that we do, and we shall walk this road knowing that the good Lord will hold our hand and guide us. Their trial started in May 2022. They were convicted guilty on all 12 counts 3 weeks later. The prosecution's evidence, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, linked the Chrisleys to a years-long pattern of fraud and tax evasion. Todd and Julie Chrisley were reality television stars before they conspired to defraud Atlanta area community banks out of more than $30 million in personal loans. To collect the millions of dollars in fraudulent loans, the Chrisleys submitted phony bank statements, audit reports, and personal financial statements to banks with the assistance of their former business partner. Mark Braddock, the previously nameless employee, testified that he assisted Todd Chrisley in falsifying the documents. I'd do whatever he needed done, he said throughout the trial. Braddock was able to obtain immunity in exchange for cooperating with the investigation. Todd Chrisley falsely claimed on a radio program that he paid $750,000 to $1 million in federal income taxes every year, even though he had not filed or paid his personal income tax returns for years, the U.S. Attorney's Office continued. The Chrisleys were ordered to remain at home following their conviction on June 7, 2022, until their sentencing hearing later that year. The court changed the bond on both of the Chrisleys after the decision was read. Expert Julie Rendelman told Entertainment Tonight. They are currently on house confinement, though they can leave for doctor's appointments and the like. Todd was the first person to be observed leaving the house. He came out of his Tennessee luxury house without shoes to pick up a bag of muffins from his daughter Savannah Chrisley days after the decision was announced. Though little is known about the couple's day-to-day activities during this stay-at-home phase, Todd has stated that they preferred to keep it that way at the time. I know all of you guys want to know every detail of our lives, and I have to ask that you accept that we're not allowed to talk about it right now, he added. He later described it as a period of introspection and mourning. With everything that's been going on, you start to allow anger kind of become the armor around your heart because you don't want to feel the pain, he said on Savannah's podcast Unlocked. It's been almost like a grieving process. Following the trial and conviction, a sentencing hearing was scheduled for October 6, 2022. People reports that the hearing was postponed until November at the request of the Chrisley's legal team. Though the prosecution sought the maximum punishment for Todd and Julie, defense attorneys argued for a lower sentence. Lawyers claim in a memo written in support of Todd, many people rely on Todd Chrisley, and his imprisonment will have a significant and harmful impact on them. One such individual is his mother. Similarly, hundreds of individuals employed in the production and filming of Chrisley's television series will be damaged if he is imprisoned. The Chrisleys also personally requested further leniency from the judge in order to keep custody of their youngest child, 10-year-old Chloe. "My wife, Julie, should not be penalized," Todd testified in court. "To hear your 10-year-old say she doesn't want to live if their mom leaves, no child should feel that way," Julie continued. Todd and Julie Chrisley were sentenced to 12 and 7 years in jail, respectively, in November 2022. The prosecution sought up to 41 months in prison for their former accountant, but Tarantino was only sentenced to 36 months. They were also forced to pay $17.2 million in restitution, according to the New York Post, which may financially devastate the marriage. "Unfortunately, they'll have to give up a lot of stuff, including their homes," a source told the publication. "They're not going to be able to pay it." Authorities have stated that they believe the Chrisleys' lengthier sentences will deter future attempts to manipulate the system. Over a decade, the defendants defrauded banks out of tens of millions of dollars while dodging payment of their federal income taxes, said Ryan K. Buchanan, a U.S. Attorney's Office representative counsel. Their severe sentences reflect the scope of their criminal plan and should act as a deterrent to others. The Chrisleys began working on an appeal immediately following the sentencing. "You just have to hope and trust to God that when one division of the judicial system fails, the next level, which is the appeal court, sees the flaws and attempts to fix those mistakes," Todd remarked during a Chrisley Confessions episode. Though the procedure is likely to be lengthy, the couple's legal team has stated that the family remains hopeful and focused on appealing the conviction. Todd and Julie are people of religion, and that faith provides them courage while they appeal their convictions, CBS News attorney Alex Little said. Though the Chrisleys' appeal may be successful, it could all come down to their public declarations. According to legal expert Nima Rahmani, instead of accepting responsibility, they increased their efforts. They gave interviews and claimed to be innocent on social media, so I'm not surprised that the judge didn't let them off the hook when they refused to accept responsibility for the fraud they committed. In response to such criticism, the family's attorneys told People, "It's certainly true that courts prefer to hear defendants accept responsibility, but it's also difficult to accept responsibility when you haven't done what you're accused of." With an initial surrender date of early 2023, the Chrisleys reportedly requested bail and a 21-day extension from the judge. According to Us Weekly, which studied court documents, the couple filed an in-person request for these exclusions but were denied. Todd and Julie have spent their remaining days of freedom living every day as if it's our last since their sentencing. Lindsay Chrisley, their daughter, told People, "My parents are absolutely investing their time in counseling and biblical studies, as well as with their children." Julie Chrisley, in particular, stated that she wanted to use the opportunity to set a good example for her children. "Any problem that I am facing or have faced, I have tried to face it always thinking and knowing that my children are watching," she stated on the program. "As a parent, I want to strive to do the right thing more than the wrong thing." With the two reality television stars scheduled to go to prison, the family faced a new dilemma. Who would care for their two young children, Grayson and Chloe? Grayson Chrisley, Todd and Julie's youngest child, is 16 years old. In December 2022, he was in a terrible vehicle accident but escaped unharmed. "They made it appear as if I had died," he stated of the media coverage of the disaster. "I told him, bro, I'm fine." Todd's granddaughter, Chloe Chrisley, is 10 years old. Todd and Julie adopted Chloe after her parents, Kyle Chrisley and Angela Johnson, were supposedly both involved in legal issues. Angela has been attempting to reclaim custody of Chloe in light of the Chrisleys' 2022 prison sentence, according to the tabloid. "I want her back. She is entitled to return home," TMZ reported. "I don't think it's appropriate for them to simply pretend I don't exist." The Chrisleys, for their side, have stated that Chloe's biological mother was not very present in her life, both before and after the official adoption. Angela Johnson gave up her parental rights in March of 2017, and we never heard from her again, Todd revealed in a December edition of Chrisley Confessions. Savannah Chrisley eventually took custody of both Grayson and Chloe. "I need to be a good role model for Chloe and Grayson," she explained. I've got to turn up no matter what. Todd and Julie Chrisley surrendered to police on January 17, 2023, with no bail posted and nothing to prevent them from serving their sentences. According to public data obtained on the Federal Bureau of Prisons website, the two reported to different prisons to serve their terms. Todd is assigned to FPC Pensacola in Florida, while Julie is assigned to FMC Lexington in Kentucky. Both are federal prisons with low security that allow visitors, monetary donations for use at the commissary, and access to legal information. Todd and Julie will also have access to educational programs, parental counseling, fitness training, and other leisure activities, as stated in both inmate orientation handbooks. According to legal expert Nima Rahmani, the ultimate term of their detention is entirely up to them. Under federal law, even if they're model inmates, they have to complete 85% of their term, Rahmani told Us Weekly. Of course, you can get a brief amount of time off for good behavior if they're model inmates, but they won't get the discount that they might get in some places where some states actually serve half or even less than that portion of your term. When Mark Braddock first testified against Todd Chrisley, he alluded to the two having a strong friendship prior to becoming business partners. I was complicit in providing him with what he required, Braddock allegedly told the court. We had a personal and intimate bond. Media sources began publishing tales about the purported affair, which Todd claims did not occur. He used his podcast to refute the notion, which he called offensive and embarrassing. It's not unpleasant for us because we know the truth, he stated, claiming that Braddock had changed his tale several times on the matter. Julie's health was also the subject of media curiosity, given that the prison she was taken to also serves as a medical facility. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2012, and she later had her ovaries removed to prevent the cancer from recurring. Though she has been in remission since, it was rumored that her choice of prison signaled that cancer has returned to her life. The pair emphasized their good health in one of their final podcast episodes. As far as we know, neither of us is dying of cancer, Todd remarked. Following their parents' incarceration, the rest of the Chrisley family has become accustomed to their new normal. The conclusion surprised the family, as indicated by their several public declarations to that effect. The result is not what I wanted or prayed for, and I am terribly saddened for myself, my son, and my entire family, Lindsay Chrisley posted on Instagram. Savannah, who has been filling her parents' podcast hole, appears to be taking on the role of family leader during the unusual shift. She highlighted how tough it had been to deal with being cut off from her parents while also attempting to help the youngest family members adjust. I believe there's a level of remorse for myself, too, knowing that Chloe and Grayson aren't going to have that same sensation of, are mom and dad going to be home tonight? She told Unlocked viewers. Todd and Julie Chrisley, according to one of the Chrisley family's lawyers, want people to know they're hopeful about a retrial. I believe they'd want people to know that they're still the same people they've always been. Alex Little told Entertainment Tonight that they didn't do these things and that they're going to fight to get their name cleared.